Hey y'all, welcome to Plotting Techniques for Plotters, Pantsers, and Plantsers. I am Tiffany Chacon, and I'm going to be walking with you through this class as we talk about different plotting techniques. I'm going to define those terms for us in just a minute, and we'll jump in. All right, so we're going to jump into these terms, what they mean. So, a plotter is somebody who likes to plot or plan out their novel before they start writing. So, they have usually pretty detailed plans before they put pen to paper, fingers to keyboard. A pantser is somebody who writes by the seat of their pants. So, they don't typically like to do plotting beforehand. They have a story idea and just want to jump in. And then a plantser is someone kind of in between where, they might do some plotting beforehand, but not a ton, or maybe they start writing and then do some plotting. But either way, they're kind of an in-betweener. So, a little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Tiffany Chacon. I write clean or sweet equestrian romance. I am a horse person. I grew up show jumping and doing dressage and all kinds of different horse related things. I have my master's in fine arts in creative writing from the University of Tampa. This is what I love to do. I live in Tampa with my husband and my two kids. I'm a homeschooling mom of my two boys, and I love it. I love getting to homeschool my kids, and I love getting to write. It's just the best. I'm so grateful that I get to do that. And so my books are really an outpouring of my love for horses and my love for love, honestly. And I have a lot of emotions in my book, a lot of feels in the books, and a lot of tension with the show jumping, kind of the sports fiction aspect of it, and yeah, lots of sisterhood feels and that sort of thing. So it is also a completed series now, the Equestrian Dream series. So if you like to wait until a series is completed to jump in, you don't have to wait. It's done. So you guys can check those out if you want. All right, we're going to talk about what this class is for today. So, this class is for you if you have a book idea, but you haven't been able to make it happen. You haven't been able to make yourself get pen to paper. That's a hard thing to overcome. So, we're going to help you overcome that so that you feel confident starting your book. Or maybe you're in the process of writing a book, but you're stuck and you can't figure out a way to get through it. This class will definitely help you just streamline what you're trying to accomplish in your book and how to get that done. Or maybe you've written a book, but it's just not resonating with readers the way that you hoped it would. And this class will really help you figure out how to make your stories resonate with readers. Or maybe you're just simply curious about various plotting methods and you want to learn more. So go ahead and comment in the chat and let me know, what do you hope to learn from this class? Are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? Do you not know yet what you are? Um, where are you at in your book writing process? Are you at the beginning, in the middle? Are you finishing up a book and maybe you're doing a final round of editing and you want to make sure that your book resonates the way that you want it to? Go ahead and comment in the chat. I'm live in the chat with you guys, so I will be responding to your comments and any questions that you might have. We have a short amount of time. We have 30 minutes to cover a lot of ground. So we will not be going in depth into every single plotting method there is, but I hope that this will be a good starting place, a good place of foundation for you guys. And each section that I'm going to share about with you today, I'll have a little homework for you guys to continue researching on your own so that you can really set yourself up for success in writing your books. Okay. Let me ask you guys this. What do you think is the most important thing a book can do? Go ahead and comment in the chat and share your opinion. What is the most important thing that you think a book can do? Is it that, it can have a compelling plot? Is that the most important thing? Or having great characters? Or maybe having a surprising twist? Is that the most important thing that a book can do? Or is it something else? Go ahead and comment. Let me know what you think. I'm getting over this horrible virus, so I am trying my best to keep my voice going during this recording. All right. Comment and let me know. What do you think is the most important thing a book can do? I'm going to share with you guys what I think. I think one of the most important things a book can do is to make a reader feel, something. And I will prove how important that is with this point. Have you ever read a book where you did not care at all about the main character? You didn't care at all. You had no feelings whatsoever about the plot, what happened. You just didn't care. Now, let me ask you this. Did you finish reading that book? If you did finish reading that book, do you ever think about that book? Maybe you think about it like, that was a rough book. I just really didn't enjoy that book. But you probably don't think about it with fondness or any sort of positive emotions. Now, switch that to a book that made you feel so many things. Maybe you laughed, maybe you cried, maybe you screamed, maybe you felt all the things. Even if you didn't like some of the choices that the author made, the fact that it made you feel something is amazing, right? I love this this meme. We read because it's so relaxing. And then you're reading, you scream, you throw the book, you cry, you curse the author's name to the wind. Oh, so relaxing. Right? So I know a lot of us have had that experience before. And usually what happens, it's so funny that this happens. Usually what happens is then you go on Instagram or TikTok or, whatever platform you're on. Oh my gosh, I just read this amazing book. It made me cry so much. Or you text your friend, you have to read this book. But why is that? Why is it that we read this book, it makes us sad or mad or scared or whatever it is, and we feel like, oh, you have to read this book? There's just something about when we feel strong emotions, it's like it makes its way into our brain and gets stuck there because we felt strong emotions. And if you want your book to get stuck in readers' brains, then you have to make them feel something. Okay. So, step one in this plotting, pantsing, planting process is, what do you want your readers to feel? So, comment in the chat and let me know, what are your feelings goals for your readers, for your books? Do you want them to be surprised? Do you want them to be sad? Do you want them to be scared or feel steamy, whatever that is? What do you want your readers to feel, as they read your book scene by scene? Of course, we want to hit different emotions. We don't want them to be, scared the whole book or, sad the whole book, right? We want kind of ups and downs with our emotions to keep our readers engaged. But generally speaking, what is the overall goal of what you want your readers to feel? And of course, a lot of that will be genre dependent, right? So I write sweet romance. This is what I want my readers to feel. I want my readers to freak out and be so happy when the main characters finally kiss. That is what I want my readers to feel, is to have that overload of joy and happiness when that happens. Maybe you write suspense and you want your readers to feel this. You want them to be on the edge of their seat, so anxious, you don't know what's going to happen. Or maybe you write mystery, right? And you want your readers maybe to feel smart, that there's a mystery to unravel here. And, can they figure it out before the detective figures it out? Or maybe this is what you want your readers to feel. You want your story to hit a deep emotional place with your readers. Either way, I think that we all want, when our readers are done with a book, for our book to not be done with them, right? We want our readers to carry our stories with them as they go through their days, their lives, and then tell someone else about it, right? That's the best marketing tool that we have, is that our stories resonate so much with readers that they have to tell someone else about it. And the best way to do that is to make our readers feel something. So, your homework for step 1 is to create a meme or a series of memes or GIFs that represent how you want your readers to feel as they read your book. And this is your starting place for plotting. So, you could even do this scene by scene, right? As you start to write, okay, I'm writing this scene. What do I want my readers to feel in this scene? Maybe you want them to feel a few different things in the scene, right? You want to kind of tug them around a little bit. So you could find, a series of GIFs or memes to kind of help you solidify in your mind, like, this is what I'm going for. This is what I'm trying to accomplish here. And that can keep you focused on your goal when you're writing that scene. Okay. Step 2. Let's figure out, we know what we want our readers to feel, but then what is the story about, right? That's kind of important in writing a book, right? We have to know what the story is about. So one way to loosely plot your novel is to start with your back cover blurb, right? So that would be when a reader picks up the book or they search for it on Amazon, what they read in that description. What is the book about? And that is trying to get the reader to purchase the book, right? To open the page to page 1 and start reading. Okay, so usually what a back cover blurb has is who's the main character. Usually there's some kind of hint at the setting, especially if it's, historical, sci-fi, or books that have, unique settings that will draw readers in. But the most important thing is, what problem do they have? Right? What's the problem they're facing? And then what are the stakes? What happens if the main character doesn't solve the problem? What are they going to lose? What's going to happen to them? Why does this problem matter? Why should the reader care about this problem? So we're going to go through a few back cover blurbs in different genres. So this is a very popular book, A Court of Thorns and Roses. It says, when 19-year-old huntress Feyre kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged from a treacherous, magical land she knows about only from legends, Feyre discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal, immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least, he's not a beast all the time. As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy, Tamlin, transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie she's been told about the beautiful, treacherous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the lands. An ancient, wicked shadow is growing, and Feyre must find a way to stop it, or doom Tamlin and his world forever. All right, so we have the main character, Feyre. We have a glimpse at the setting, and notice, like, she doesn't go into a lot of detail about the setting. It's just little hints here and there. And then we have the problem. She gets kidnapped after she kills this wolf, and the place that she's been kidnapped to, there's something going on here. So the problem is she's kidnapped in this, hostile world. But then the stakes are that if they don't figure out what's going on with this wicked shadow thing, that whole world that she's living in right now is going to be doomed forever. Okay, so we have main character, the problem, and the stakes, and a little bit about the setting. All right, killing floor, Jack Reacher. Ex-military policeman, Jack Reacher is a drifter. He's just passing through Margrave, Georgia, and in less than an hour, he's arrested for murder. Not much of a welcome. All Reacher knows is that he didn't kill anybody. Well, at least not here, not lately. But he doesn't stand a chance of convincing anyone. Not in Margrave, Georgia. Not a chance in hell. Okay, so we have the main character, Jack Reacher. We have a little bit of the setting, tiny, tiny bit, Margrave, Georgia. And then we have the problem. He gets arrested for killing somebody that he didn't kill. And then we have the stakes, right? So he doesn't stand a chance of convincing anyone that he didn't kill this guy. So notice how short this is. This is one paragraph, but it's compelling and it gives just enough information for us to want to open that first page. All right, this is a little bit of a different vibe. So this is a sweet romance rom-com by Emma St. Clair, Falling for Your Best Friend's Twin. For years, I've successfully hidden my crush on Zane, my best friend's ultra grumpy, ultra hot twin brother. But now that he's hired me to fix a tech glitch for his startup, I'm having trouble keeping the feels under wraps. I should just keep my head down and do my job like a good employee. I should not go on the investors weekend that will keep me up close and personal with Zane, like couples massage kind of personal. There's a lot on the line. My friendship, my job, and my stupid little heart that just won't stop beating for him. But I never met a risk I didn't like to face head on. Here goes nothing. Or maybe here goes everything. Okay, so a few kind of interesting things about this is that we actually never get the main character's name in this. Right? But we do get Zane's name. So we know the main love interest's name. We know the problem. She's got this crush, and now she's working for her crush. And we know what's at stake, right? They literally spell it out for us. I've got a lot on the line, my friendship, my job, and my stupid little heart, right? And then what's interesting about this is that this is really told in the narrator's voice. So this gives readers a glimpse into what the writing is going to be like. And I actually think that's really compelling because if someone reads this description and they really like the way that it's told, they're really going to like the book. But if they read the description and they're like, oh, I don't like that, then they're not the reader for this book, right? So there's a lot here to like. But you'll notice how each of these are really different based on the genre that they're in, but they accomplish the same thing, right? Main character, what's the problem? What are the stakes? And a tiny bit of the setting. Okay, so your homework for this section is to come up with a compelling back blurb for your book, even if you haven't written it yet, which authors, like, we notoriously have a hard time with this because we can write these 80,000 word books and not be able to write a 3-paragraph, summary for the back blurb. It's just hard. It is. But if you can do this, if you can write a compelling back blurb for your book, that's going to help you stay focused on why is a reader going to pick up my book? What's compelling? What's the problem? What are the stakes? Who's the main character? That's going to keep you focused. And, if you write this back blurb, just keep coming back to it as you're writing your book. Okay, what's the purpose of what I'm writing and what's going to make readers pick up this book? And just make sure that the details you include are intriguing, that the stakes are high, that the problem is big. It's got to compel readers to go from the description into the book. All right, we don't have a ton of time, but we're going to kind of skim the surface of some of these, more detailed plotting methods. So the first one that we're going to go into is the snowflake method, which is basically you start out by writing a 1-sentence summary of your book, right? So essentially what we talked about with the back blurb, but 1 sentence. Who's your main character? What's the problem? What's at stake, right? So Mila Kozak, college student who's a show jumper, her sister got into a terrible accident and is paralyzed, and now Mila is so afraid to ride. She's not gonna, she can't ride. Okay, so like 1-sentence summary. Then expand that into a 1-paragraph summary of your book. Okay, so you expand that a little bit more. Okay, so Mila has this problem. She's too afraid to ride. She has PTSD from her sister's accident. Oh yeah, and her boyfriend dumped her, and she's just reeling from all of this. Then she ends up kissing her friend in order to save him. And that puts them on this journey of, falling in love. Okay, so we have 1 paragraph. Then we write 1-page character sheet for your main characters, your major characters. So this would go into, their physical description, but also, their history, their background, what's relevant, to the story, what's their problem. Each of the characters should have a problem that they're trying to solve, right? Even if it's not a front and center problem. So you do that for your major characters, then expand your 1-paragraph summary to 4 pages. So the purpose of this, in a lot of ways, is to test, do I have enough fodder in this idea to make a full story, a full novel? So that, if you can, get your 4 pages out, what happens in the book in more detail, then that will give you a good idea if you can really turn this into a full novel. All right, then you expand your character sheets to full character charts. So get really, really, really nitty gritty on who all of your characters are. And then the last thing is to create a scene list. So go scene by scene, what's going to happen in this book, using your 4-page plot summary, just go scene by scene by scene. So this is the snowflake method. I actually like to think of it as like the snowball method because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as you go. And this is great for people who don't want to be plotters. You want to get pen to paper, but you don't know exactly what you want to happen in your story, and you want to see if your story has legs, if it can go somewhere. So I highly recommend this method if you don't want to be a plotter, but you want to have some structure. Okay, this next one is Save the Cat, which Save the Cat originally started out as a breakdown of these beats or these different scenes for screenwriting. So there's a Save the Cat for screenwriters, but then there's a Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody, specifically breaking down these different beats or these different scenes for novels. And even if you don't want to be a plotter, I highly recommend picking up the Save the Cat book and just learning from it, because she goes through in depth a lot of different novels, how they incorporate these different beats, these different scenes into their pages. And it's really compelling. And again, even if you don't want to be a plotter, it's nice to have that information up there for when you're a little stuck. Like, okay, am I not, what else do I need to incorporate here? So with Save the Cat, you have the opening image, which is kind of like the before snapshot of your main character, what their lives look like before, we really jump into the story. Then you have the setup, like this kind of introduces the problem that they're facing, their internal problem, right? So, Mila has this internal problem of facing her fears, but her external problem is that her boyfriend broke up with her and her sister had this paralyzing accident. And so she doesn't know what to do with that. So we have a setup. Then we have the theme stated, which is amazing how much this happens in books and movies. Now that I know this is a thing, I have paid attention to books and movies, how often this happens, where a secondary character says to the main character, hey, I know how to fix your problem. This is what you need to do. And the main character is like, I'm not going to listen to you. And it's just a simple little moment where it sets up the readers or the viewers to go, aha, that's the internal problem that they need to overcome. Then you have the catalyst, which is, that initial, Jack Reacher gets arrested. Abby and Zane, Abby starts working for Zane in the brother's best friend or best friend's brother book. That's your catalyst, right? Then you have the debate. So this super huge problem happened. Everything's blowing up for the main character and they have to figure out what they're going to do, right? So then that breaks us into act 2. We have the B story, which is usually like for, it might be a romance. It might be, a secondary character going through something. Fun and games is kind of like how the character is trying to solve that problem, their problem. The midpoint is usually another catalyst of sorts where something happens that changes things again for the main character, and usually for the worse. Then the bad guys close in, kind of self-explanatory. Things start going really, really wrong. All is lost. So it goes really, 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 really wrong. And then there's the dark night of the soul, this last one in act 2. So this is when the problem just got way worse than we ever could have imagined it. And there's no way out of this. Maybe if it's a romance, the characters break up. Maybe if it's a thriller or some, maybe like a detective book, it's that the detective like gets thrown off the force and can't even solve this problem anymore. It's got to be something really high stakes that the readers are going, how in the world is this going to get solved? Then you break into 3. This is when the main character digs really deep to figure out, how am I going to solve this problem? Usually, there's other people get involved, help problem solve, and they figure it out. We have the finale, the resolution, and the final image, which is kind of like that ending snapshot, the epilogue, or, everything's like so wonderful. Or if it's a series, maybe it kind of leads into the next problem. So that's Save the Cat. This last one that we're going to go over is called the W plotting structure. So this is a good one for people who want a little bit of plotting help, but maybe not so in depth as Save the Cat, with all those like individual beats to follow. So you have, you start out up here with your triggering event. That's your catalyst. The problem is introduced. Jack Reacher gets arrested. Farah, kills the wolf and then gets kidnapped. Okay, we set up the problem, right? So Jack Reacher goes to jail, or Farah goes to this new, world. Then we have the first turning point. So this is, what's the main character going to do? And so they kind of make a decision, right? So they're trying to recover from the problem here. So maybe they're trying different things, Jack Reacher's trying different things to prove his innocence, and it's not working. Second triggering event, usually something goes wrong again, and that deepens the problem. That makes the problem worse. Okay. Then there's another turning point here. Maybe, a new problem is introduced, or, another character is introduced, or not introduced, but, shows up in a different way. A lot of times this is when like the bad guy is revealed, or, the main character confesses their feelings or something like that. And then you start to be able to figure out how to resolve the problem, and you end with the resolution. And this is also a 3-act structure, kind of like Save the Cat. Okay, so those are just a few plotting methods that hopefully can work for you if you are wanting to be a really in-depth plotter, or if you want to keep being a pantser but want a little bit more structure as you're writing. My homework for you, should you choose to accept it, is to find a plotting structure that appeals to you and research it in depth. Start to pay attention to how books and movies and TV shows that you like incorporate these various beats or various, trigger points or turning points into their structures. It's actually kind of amazing once you start paying attention to it, how prevalent it is, which should be a sign to us. Like, just because we follow these methods doesn't mean that our stories are going to be like everybody else's. These are just structures, foundations, if you will, and we get to determine what our house looks like. So I will say this, the bottom line, if you plot, it does help you finish. So let's say that you go with the snowflake method, and you've got your scene list, and you've got your character, charts and all of that. You know exactly what you're doing when you sit down to write each day. Okay, I got to write this scene. Okay, this is what happens next. Or if you're following the Save the Cat beats, okay, I got to work on, the dark night of the soul, or I got to hit these plot points. It helps you to finish. So if you're having trouble finishing, I highly recommend sitting down and working through some of these plot points so that you can finish your book. Plotting helps your story resonate with readers. So what we talked about at the beginning with just wanting our stories to make people feel something, when we really think through and are intentional about, hitting these points, it helps our stories to resonate with people. It helps us to evoke those emotions and feelings in readers. Plotting also helps you make sure that your story falls in line with genre expectations. And this is not necessarily a negative. Like I said, you can look at these plotting techniques and see how other books are doing this. And it's kind of amazing that there's so many different books, but they're all incorporating some elements of these, or all the elements of these, and yet they're different. But depending on what genre you're writing in, readers expect a certain thing, right? If you're in romance, like, we're expecting a kiss, or we're expecting the couple to get together. We're also expecting an almost kiss, or a obstacle for the couple to overcome. If you write mystery, like, there's got to be some red herrings, or some ways that the detective is following the wrong lead, like he can't get it right the first time, right? That wouldn't be much of a story. So just because we're plotting and we're kind of giving readers what they want, doesn't necessarily mean that this is a negative, right? Like, we it's helping us to resonate. It's helping us, to get a story out there that readers want to read, that's compelling to them. That being said, there's not a right way to plot. We don't have to be beholden to any of these individual methods. Make them work for you, right? And that's one of the reasons why I encourage you guys to go back and research different methods and find one that works for you. And again, even if you don't want to be a plotter, let yourself take in that information and use it when you need it, when you feel stuck, when you feel like a scene isn't working the way you want it to, or it's not resonating with your beta readers the way you want it to, or you're not getting the responses from agents that you want, or whatever it is. You can go back to one of these plotting methods and make sure you're hitting the right notes for your readers. The last thing I'll say about this is just to know thyself, right? So you have to find, if you don't know already, what strengths do you bring as a writer? Okay, so maybe you love writing action sequences. And when you write those action sequences, readers are like, oh my gosh, I was so into that. I couldn't stop reading. Or maybe you're really good at the sizzle and the tension between characters. Maybe you're really good at writing dialogue or really good at writing, fights, either physical or with words. You got to figure out what works for you, what you're good at. If you have books published already, I encourage you to read your reviews when you're in a good space mentally to read them and see, like, what are people saying a lot of, that, I can learn from. What are people being drawn in? Oh, I love, how emotional this was, or I love how tense this was, or whatever. And so find out your strengths as a writer, and really evolve your writing around that and your plotting around that. If you know you're really strong with action sequences, have a lot of action sequences in your writing. If you know you're really strong at writing sizzling tension, make sure that's in your book a lot and plan your novels around that. But then we also have to know our genres, study our genres. So I know we're all readers here, but when you read a book, read it with readers in mind. Why does this work? Why does this not work? What beats or what plot points is this writer hitting? Oh man, this Dark Night of the Soul is really intense and she hits this out of the park. Or, oh man, this, like, you know, um triggering point or catalyst is so compelling. We got to know those plot points so that we can see how to make them work for us. We're not beholden to them, they're beholden to us, right? We have the pen in our hands. We get to decide what happens, what doesn't happen. But knowledge is power. And the more knowledge we have, the more power we have. So know your genre, know yourself as a writer, and use that to your advantage. And I'll go a step further and say, know the plotting points so you can use them to your advantage rather than, working for them. So I hope that this was really helpful for all of you guys. I hope that you go back and do the homework, find your memes, find your GIFs to compel you, like, through your scenes, what you want your readers to feel. Go back, write a back cover blurb that is going to be compelling and keep you focused on your goal with this book that you're writing. Study out some of these plotting techniques and figure out how they can work for you as a writer. And then use that to your advantage and figure out how you can combine your strengths as a writer with these techniques and tools that you now have in your writer toolbox. So I hope this is helpful for you. I would love for you, if you want to connect with me, to follow me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. My name on all three platforms is the same, at Tiffany Noel Chacon. You can head to my website and check out my free writing resources at tiffanynoelchacon.com/writing. I've included on that website a PDF of these slides for you guys to download for free on that page. And I have all kinds of other freebies too. If you want to do some more research on these different plotting techniques, I have articles and books to check out on that page. And if you want to check out my prequel novella, Off Course, for free, you can go to tinyurl.com/offcoursebook. And again, these are my books. I write sweet equestrian romance with all the feels, and it's a completed series on Amazon. They're all on Kindle Unlimited, and on paperback if you guys want to check that out. Thank you so much for your time and for sticking with me through this. I hope that it was really helpful. Have a great day.